There's a thing that happens to some men when everything that needs you happens at the same time. And you don't get to fall apart because someone in the room always needs you to hold it together. So you do. You hold it together. You file away that thing that is breaking you in some back room inside yourself and tell yourself you'll deal with it later or forget about it. I want to talk to you about what later actually costs because I paid it. It came due and I had to pay it in full. I want you to understand before I tell you this story, it's not for sympathy or anything like that. I'm telling you because there's a man watching this who has had to be the strong one. And nobody ever knows or names what that actually takes out of you. I'm going to name it today. My wife and I have been separated for several months before we made the decision to try again. We have been together maybe a month, 1 month. Our foundation wasn't solid yet. We were still trying to find our footing. It was a slow, rough go, but her back surgery was scheduled. So I stepped into the role I always stepped into, the strong one, the steady one, the one who handles what needs to be handled. I need to tell you something about who I was before all that. It's a code or a mantra I carried ever since AIT in the Army. Make it happen. Drill Sergeant Jackson, Fort Lee, Virginia, said that all the time. Make it happen. Whatever the situation, whatever the obstacle, don't wait for perfect conditions. You don't wait to feel ready. You find a way and you make it happen. And I kind of operated like that all my life since then. And I ran on it, man. I was confident, mentally tough. I didn't need much. I handled things. But this is a story about that showed me that I actually had limits. The night before my sister's surgery, we were asleep. The night before my wife's surgery, we were sleeping, and I got a call in the middle of the night. I usually don't answer calls I don't recognize, but something made me pick that up. It was a hospital wanting to verify my information. And I was kind of confused. I was like, why? What's going on? They told me my sister had been admitted. I asked the man what was going on, and he didn't have any information. But he said a nurse would call me and let me know what was going on. I got off the phone. I texted one of my nephews who lived in the same city as her. And the most he could tell me is that she had fallen out at home. And that was all I had. So I went to the hospital next morning just carrying that while trying to be that rock for my wife. We were back in the pre-op room. She was nervous. I was calm on the outside, but I was anxious about what was going on. My sister had been transferred to the hospital in the city where I was. The nurse called when we were back in pre-op, and she explained to me what happened, that my sister had fallen out. They weren't really sure what it was at the time, but that she was in a coma and that they were trying to drain the fluid off her brain. I asked a couple questions, but she just said she'd have more information later. I got off the phone. And I cracked just for a second. The tears, the emotion came out of nowhere. Little did I know that was the first sign that I was cracking. But I was able to pull it back together. And the nurse in the pre-op room, she prayed with us, which is something, she just did it. I didn't ask. I'll never forget that. My wife went into surgery. Then I had 4 hours to call my mom and my dad. My mom I hadn't spoken to in over 10 years. So I was there caring for both of them, my wife and my sister. Make it happen, Joe. Here's kind of what I never told anyone, the full picture of what was going on. Before my wife had surgery, and while she had surgery, and while my sister was in the hospital, there was a house that we had together that we had to be out of. My wife had gotten an apartment because she could no longer, I still was paying the house note. But we had to move everything out of that house. It was a 3-bedroom split level house, and 80% of it I did by myself. I had some really great friends, and our sister-in-law came, but I moved the majority of that house alone. Before the surgery, after going back and forth between the hospitals, packing up a life and having your sister fighting for hers. I was her power of attorney. The decisions that concerned her were mine. She had 4 sons, but she had given me that responsibility back in 2020. We knew she didn't want to be hooked to machines, but that final decision was mine, and I was scared. Period. Am I doing the right thing? I know God's a healer. What if she heals her? All those type of thoughts were going in my mind. I just didn't want to screw up. This was quite literally the most important decision of my life. So the day before we took her off, I went to the hospital just to be with her. I played a song for her, Brighter Days by Blessing Offer. I sat with her in that room. I talked to her by myself. I just needed to know that it was okay. And quite honestly, she had no ocular reflex. And the moment I became at peace is when her eyes opened and I saw her grayish, clouded over eyes just bouncing around. They took her off life support the next day. She kept fighting. Arla kept fighting. I wanted to be there when she left. I didn't want her boys to sit there in that alone. But I also had to finish taking care of that house. I had to find a walkthrough I had to do. So I left the hospital, did the walkthrough, and was on my way back to the apartment to drop off something when I got the phone call. It was my youngest nephew. I'll never forget the sound and his voice cracking. Uncle Joe. She's gone. So I turned around and immediately went to the hospital, playing Brighter Days the whole time. The hospice workers who I'd been dealing with were outside the room when I got there. They really didn't acknowledge me because I was just kind of in a daze as I walked through them into the room. My nephews were in there, 3 of them. They were playing I Wish by R. Kelly. I went to each and every one of them first, gave them hugs. They were just numb. They were just numb, man. I finished giving them their hugs, and then I went over to my sister. No more machines. No more tubes. Just peaceful, still. Arla was gone. My nephews eventually left. I told them I'd take care of everything else. My two oldest kids came, Marissa and Celis. They sat with me. I didn't know the process, but I just felt like I couldn't leave my sister till I knew everything was okay. The hospital workers came in, took her clothes off, cleaned her body, wiped her down, head to toe, put the toe tag on her, then put her body into a white body bag and held her and told me that they would hold her to the morgue, would come pick her up, and then the funeral home. I couldn't unzip that bag to kiss her on her forehead before I left. I just kissed the bag and I told her I got him. I made it happen. I gotta tell you what no one told me. The strength it takes to hold it together is real. And it costs something. You will pay a cost. Not because you did anything wrong, but because you're just human. Grief does not care how strong you are. It is more patient than your strength will ever be. I carried all that, a dying sister, recovering house, a recovering wife, house being moved, marriage on uncertain ground. And I held it all together because that was the code, man. Make it happen. But what I didn't know, but then, that back room where you put everything away, that's breaking you, it has a limit, bro. And when it fills up, it doesn't send a warning, it just opens. Watching a TV show months later, alone, couldn't breathe. Everything's upside down. Gone. There's a question for you. I want to ask you something. What are you carrying around right now that nobody knows about? Not that surface level stuff that we let out every now and then. The things that you filed away deep down where no one even knows, and sometimes you forget about it there. You don't have to answer it out loud. I want you to sit with it because you cannot rebuild from the weight you refuse to acknowledge. The first step is not faith, it's not fitness, it's not structure, it's honesty. Honesty with yourself. What are you actually carrying? That's what this channel's for. My name's Joe. This is Joe.rebuilt. I'll see you in the next video.